Good morning, friends. As you may have noticed, I've been away from my home for the past week. I was in Vancouver on a family trip, and it was a really nice time. And now I'm back, so it's time for me to continue my mornings with wosX. So today, it's a beautiful morning. It's great to come back and see that the temperature has cooled down a little bit, giving us a break from that brutal heat that we had basically all summer. Actually, I can go online and check what the weather is right now. Yeah, so right now it's 19 degrees, so that's like perfect right now. Absolutely perfect. Let's see what the 15-day looks like here. So it's supposed to rise a little bit by next week on Saturday. It's supposed to go up to around 26 and then drop all the way back down to 18 again around the end of September. So it's, the heat hasn't gone officially yet, obviously, but it's thankfully starting to taper off as we approach into the autumn season. So I've gotten a few requests actually. It's sort of this past week it's hard to keep track of all of them. Just remember what they were exactly. I do remember one distinctly. Someone asked me what my opinions were on the legalization of marijuana in Canada. Since this is the place where I live, this is going to be affecting people who live here extremely. And my opinions as of right now are pretty much indifferent. I have to say I'm not really looking forward to it because I don't smoke weed anymore. There was a point in time around like a year ago, almost a year ago, which was when I stopped in December, I think. But around this time last year, I was pretty much smoking at least twice a day. And that was just not a healthy habit for me. And it wasn't, first of all, the high wasn't enjoyable at this point. I had been smoking daily for a while then, around like 2 years, I'd say. And at that point, weed just sort of stops being fun. It kind of loses all of its luster and all of its, anything that it has that would be entertaining. What I remember it when I first started smoking was that it was extremely, it was fun. You get high, you have like this high experience, right? And it makes the world around you sort of stand out more, and it opens up your mind, and everything sort of feels better. It's a new experience, and then after a while, it sort of just becomes the norm. It's no more an experience to hold. It's not interesting any longer. It's just this state of mind that you're already used to. So it's it becomes very boring. And most of what I felt usually was basically just anxiety, or I would overthink things, or I would just kind of feel nauseous a lot of the times. And so I'd also, at one point, I was kind of looking forward to legalization of weed, because that would mean I would be able to get CBD weed, which was, the weed without the high. It was just the medicinal effects, and I thought that would be good. But this week, I tried some CBD gummies, and I had those familiar feelings of discomfort. I didn't get high, obviously. I just mostly got a little bit nauseous and a little bit drowsy. I didn't feel any sort of relaxing or beneficial high. It was just kind of pointless in a lot of ways. So my thoughts on the legalization: I think it's fine that it's being legalized. I have no problem with it, but at the same time, I'm not exactly excited about it anymore. If this was me 2 years ago, I would be ecstatic about this, which is kind of the ironic thing. At that point in time, I was, just thinking, or would talk to my friends like, oh man, like it would be so sick if weed was legalized. But now it's like I don't really give a shit. It's, it's happening, and around a month and a half, and I have to say, I'm not exactly, I don't really feel much about it. On the other hand, though, I think it's a good thing that, we are getting rid of the stigma that weed is this harmful drug. I believe it can help a lot of people. I believe that a lot of people have found weed to be beneficial towards them, and it's helped people become a lot more relaxed, I find, or a lot more, in some ways, empathetic, which I think is important. If you think of other drugs, like alcohol, for instance, which are very aggressive, or caffeine, even on a much smaller scale, these are very active drugs. I mean, alcohol is more of a depressant, obviously, but in the sense that it's extroverted, right? You have this energy that you are consuming that it's like projecting outwards. When you're drunk, it's, you want to project whatever's inside of you. If you're angry, you're going to get twice as angry. If you're tired, you're going to get twice as tired. If you're happy, you're going to be twice as happy. That's the thing with alcohol, I find. And with caffeine, it's just kind of what it is. It just perks you up and gets you started throughout the day. Weed is the only real, truly kind of relaxing drug, at least in a general sense. Depends on who you are, though. Some people react differently. Everyone's brain's different. I know for me, and some other people I know, when they get high, their minds become overactive. I think this goes for a lot of people who are introverted, right? They spend a lot of time in their heads. People who are extroverted, when they get high, it sort of forces you to get into that mind space, which I guess is a good feeling for those people. But for people who are already introverted, it's like turning up the dial as to your reflection on life, and it can actually cause a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, and I know that's the case for me and for a lot of other people. So overall, I'm perfectly fine with weed legalization, although I will probably not smoke weed anytime soon, and if I do, it's usually on rare occasions. I will say there are a lot of things I miss about weed. It's mostly the weed experience, right? Where you have, you meet up with your friends and you have to find a place to smoke weed, and you have to find somewhere to buy it. It's an adolescent experience that is what I truly miss. And the actual getting high part was also really fun, but the real parts that I miss are, it's sort of like that little danger element comes with smoking weed. And since weed is really a harmless drug, I never really experimented beyond further except with psychedelics, although psychedelics, you kind of want to really avoid the danger element, otherwise you just sort of go into a really bad trip. So weed is basically, if you want to have a harmless experience or something that's somewhat beneficial, this is sort of the last time where you can have that sort of danger element, because now it's just going to be completely normalized, and you're not going to have that excitement feeling, which is both a good and a bad thing. People go to jail for weed. There are people who have gone to jail for 10 years just for carrying a bag of weed, which is obviously not a good thing. But it'll be safer to buy weed. You won't run into the risk of getting someone selling you some shitty weed laced with plexiglass or sand or whatever they put in shitty weed nowadays. So there are a lot of benefits to legalization, which I think are important, and that's the fact that you know exactly what you're getting. It's regulated. But there's also the other side, that weed's probably going to be a lot more expensive. It's not going to be as fun buying weed. You don't have to have the experience of being a teenager and trying to find weed. It's basically you just go to the SAQ and buy it, right? It's and then your parents, probably in the future, the culture of weed is going to change dramatically. It's not going to be this sort of taboo subject of like, ooh, smoking weed. it's just going to be like having a glass of wine at dinner at that point. You know, you'll have kids and the parents will say, oh, we're smoking weed. And it's like, no, not yet. Wait till you're 18 or whatever. Wait till you're 21. And to me, that's a little bit odd that that's, you know, the culture we're heading towards, which I think it's a good thing. And it's also, you know, we're going to lose a little bit of the excitement that came with weed. But at the end of the day, what is more valuable? It's the safety and the efficiency of being able to acquire, you know, this sort of drug or medicine or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Have a great day.